I want you to be assured of one thing. It's not going to be as nice with this new world order as it was with Adolf Hitler. There isn't anything that you've got or ever had or ever hoped to have that they're not planning on taking away. They want it all. They're going for the jugular. If you simply sit here and do nothing, they will take it all. AV3 and the British Constitution Group are headlining this soon-to-be offensive movement. There's never been any battle fought anywhere over anything at any time that has been won defensively. Everything has to be fought offensively. We have to incite a revelation. We have to awake the people. We have to shake the people. Now, a film can be seen by 1 million before a book can be read by 1. I'm going to offer a free download when I do the George Norrie show. How many people will hear that? About 11 million. The free download through Alex Jones, we can reach about 25 million. We've got to think not in the hundreds, not in the thousands. We have to think in the millions. In the millions. That's what happens when you take to the air. We have to reach beyond our fingertips. We have to develop the capacity to hear beyond our ears. When I came here, I thought, well, maybe I could get here in time before they take this vote. You all voted, right? You voted for the Lisbon Treaty? No, wait, what? I didn't. You all voted for the Lisbon Treaty, right? Your parliament said, yes, you have a chance? No. Yes, you have a choice? No. Or did they say, up yours? Right? I go over here and I take a look at this. I'm having some fish and chips, thinking what a lovely day. I'm in Bournemouth. And I see the headlines. Everybody's just walking and talking out there. I mean, it's like zombie land. Live from the neck down, dead from the neck up. The nation has been Novocaine. I read the headline, no referendum, says Tories. Britain, the end of your country, the end of your sovereignty, the end of it all. And people are walking around like they haven't got the message. Like they haven't ever heard about taking a stand. As Lisbon Treaty becomes law, we've been sold down the river. My God, have you ever been sold down the river? You think, well, how long do we have? Well, you don't have any time. The time is over. It's not going to happen unless you do something that is spectacular. Ian Crane is doing something that is spectacular. He's got you all here. He deserves a hand. See, I can't see you right now. All of the lights are in my eyes. And that's pretty much the situation with the people of England. The lights are in your eyes. Blinded. It's like a film, the Kubrick film. Eyes wide shut. The Illuminati is here. Matt and I were out at the Rothschild estate the other day, taking a look at that pyramid. Oh, and the dollar bill in the United States, there's a pyramid. At the top of it is the eye of Lucifer, the eye of Horus. At the bottom it says 1776. That isn't the 1776 that gave birth to the United States of America. It is the birth of the order and sect of the Illuminati on May 1st, 1776. That's what they celebrate on May Day. The communists. Oh, communism, pronounce it right, isn't a creation of the masses to overthrow the banking establishment. It's a creation of the banking establishment to overthrow and enslave the masses. It isn't something that came from down here. It is something that was created from above. It's the money monarchy, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the people who print that fiat funny money, lend it back to you at face value plus interest. They get the gold, you get the shaft. That's the way it's been. That's the way it's going to continue to be. That's the way it will be when they bury this country. And they will bury this country. That is a surety. It's going to happen unless you take a stand. And it's this group here that's going to lead that. It's not somebody else out there. If they had the message, they would be here. It's because you have the message that you have the obligation. It's a duty. You have to do this. There's no one else. If you don't do it, Lilo is a fellow I met today outside. He's in a wheelchair. But don't think that he's hampered in any way from being in this fight. See, Lilo can get on the air on a talk show, and he can be 10 feet tall. There's no handicaps except the ones we have in our own mind. Can we do it? No. Let's ask, must we do it? Let's not even ask a question. We will do this. We will win in this war for the world. A bloke comes up with a sovereign independent from Ireland. The vote to end all votes. Yeah, to end all votes. God, can it be? I look at another paper, The Sun. Signed, sealed, delivered. The final statement. Up yours. So many people out there don't get it. They don't understand it. When you take a look at a film, and we'll be sold out of our films. We may have some more at the end of the day. But with Frankenfed, here's Frankenfed. The monster amongst us. There's Bernanke. The United States Federal Reserve is not federal, and it's not a reserve. They fooled us when they put the Fed name. It's the Frankenstein monster, the Fed. They have enslaved us. And you say, well, there's going to be a change. There's going to be a change. It's not going to be the same anymore. We've got Obama. Obama, Bush, Blair, Brown, Cameron, and what was the guy they buried over there in Salisbury Cathedral? Sir Edward Heath. I went over there and I saw these guys from the BBC, and I thought, well, maybe they're over there to cover this story, because over in the cathedral, there's the Magna Carta. And a few yards down is the body of Heath, who laid out the initial schematic to surrender this country to a Hitlerian superstate. And then the Magna Carta is over here. And I'm saying, well, surely the BBC would be covering this story. I mean, the guys, the document that gave you freedom and the man who took it away. So I'm making a suggestion. Let us exhume the body of Sir Edward Heath. Let's put it in its proper place and flush it down the sewer system of London. And you think this is just a cute suggestion? I am serious as a heart attack. You guys don't stand a prayer. You don't stand a chance. There's no hope, unless you're looking to Obama. But if we have Obama, then what are we going to have? We're going to have an abomination. Right? An Obamageddon. Der Fuhrer, Obama, the new face of socialism. See, over here you've got the old face of socialism. You think, well, something's going to change. These guys, Cameron said, well, we're going to get a vote. We're going to get a chance. You don't have a constitution. There's no constitution here. You have to create a new constitution which must be separate from all of the other legislation that has been forced down your throat. You must be in control of your servants who work for you. If they do not obey, you fire them. They can't stay in there for 5 or 6 years. We don't have 5 or 6 months. We might not even have 5 or 6 days before this thing tumbles. Adolf Hitler wrote a book. Oh, it's not Mein Kampf. That's not the one I'm concerned about. He wrote another one called The World Order. What's in that? It's a game plan for a united Europe. He took over Europe with bullets and bombs. He wanted to get his army on boats to come over here, and there was going to be a fight. Britain was going to stand, or Britain was going to fall. The Yanks came over, and the Yanks and the Brits joined together in the battle for Britain. There is another battle for Britain, and it is going on right now. You don't understand it? By God, you should. It's a battle for your very lives. It's a battle where there is no option. We must win it, and you must prepare to win or prepare to die. There's no chance. Not in the future, not now, not ever. Once the vote is gone, and your right to protest. And oh, guess what? I'm taking a look at the paper again. I can't believe it. Here they are, out protesting. It says, the end of our right to protest. If you don't have a choice, you don't have a chance. Freedom is choice. Choice is freedom. I've written a manifesto. On the first sentence of the first paragraph, I say wars like bridges are engineered. We have to declare war upon them. War means action, because the action is in the reaction. We don't have to reach all of the people. We only have to reach the people who reach the people. I was talking to a group, wanted to film me. I didn't know who they were, and I didn't want to put any association with this organization, so I did it independently. They talked about making discs and putting them out in the street. We have to reach people at the street. But we have to reach those people who reach the people. I did a show with Theo the other night. And I looked at Theo and I said, gee, I don't want to upstage this guy. But that camera is right over there. God, it's an open invitation. I said, I'll apologize later. But I wanted to talk to you. I want the people of this country to understand the war. I want the people of this country to understand exactly what will happen if we fail to do that which we must. I think God, in His infinite wisdom, told me in Las Vegas about 3 weeks ago to walk away from my bills, obligations, get on a plane, and come to this island. My grandmother was born up around Blackpool. I'll be speaking at St. Anne's tomorrow. And then up at a mosque in Birmingham. There's a war against Islam. Were there any Muslims flying those planes on 9/11? Not a single one on the flight manifest. But we're told that they were on there. Could any of you get onto any plane without identification? All of a sudden, there's 19 guys. The FBI tells us we're on that plane. Well, in my film, 911, The Greatest Lie Ever Sold, we point out the fact that no Muslims on the plane. And how did those names that the FBI get listed just 24 hours later? How is it possible that they knew all of these guys? Well, I can go out tomorrow, and I'm planning on doing this, and shooting 7 of these guys. Well, how could I shoot them? I mean, if they were dead? Well, the fact is I couldn't shoot them because they're not dead. They're alive. Well, if they were alive, how could they be on the plane? Well, they weren't on the plane. And then there was one fella. He was dead before the event. Dead men don't fly planes. And I thought, well, if 7 of them are alive and I can do interviews with them, they couldn't be on the plane. So, minus the 7 and the 1, that makes 11. 2 to take over the cockpit, if we were to believe their story. And that would leave, let's see. 3 left. Or just 2 3/4, just 3/4 of a man. I figured it out. Per plane with a box cutter that is 5/8 of an inch long. And I'm looking out in the audience. I'm sure there's a lady over there with gray hair. She would take out her purse and whip the crap out of some guy if he had the guts walking on a cane or a crutch to come over and try to take over all of the passengers in the plane. And then I see the Pentagon. More cameras around the Pentagon than any other building in the United States. Surely, with all of those cameras, they would have pictures of this plane 757 coming in. It's only coming 4 feet off the ground. There is a ground. And then there was this thing about Muhammad Atta. I said, Muhammad Atta is doing this, and Muhammad Atta, and he's tied in with Osama bin Laden, or is this Osama bin Bush? And I'm thinking, well, here he is taking over the plane. I've tried on many occasions to make a phone call from my cell phone to somebody in the ground. 32 times I've tried. Just tried again when coming over from Philadelphia. Doesn't work. But all of a sudden, on that one day, these phones are ringing. I'm thinking, well, something's suspicious. And then there's Bush. He was sitting down in front of the school children, talking to them nice and calmly. And one kid in western Florida, when he asked the question of the president, he says, when was the first time that you knew about the attack? And Bush said, well, he's not the swiftest, he's not the brightest of the bunch. He's taking a look at he's reading a book upside down. Now, I've heard of dyslexic, but this is a new angle. And then Andy Card comes over and whispers in his ear about the second hit. But he said he was watching it on television. There weren't no television, Mr. President, covering that event. They weren't set up. They didn't have the cameras and the lights and the whole thing going. But I believe him. He was watching on closed circuit CIA. Then he told the kid, he said, I was watching it on television and I was asked to go into the other room to speak to the school children. The highest building in the United States of America hit by an airliner? And he's going in to speak to some 7, 8, 9, I don't even think they were that old, school children. Of course, I guess it's just a matter of importance, isn't it? Then Andy Card came over and leaned over and told him about the second, hit. Obviously a terrorist attack. Did the Secret Service usher him off as they were supposed to? No. He just sat there and continued to listen to the school children. It was an inside job. 7/7 is an inside job. It is murder in the first degree. Oh, I forgot about that. I was telling you about this guy named Muhammad Atta. And that passport, right? He was, well, these guys have to carry passports because they have to give it their identification and everything at the airport. But then there's that issue of the manifest. His name wasn't on it. But I'm taking a look at that huge plane going into the side of the North Tower. And then one going into the South Tower. Muhammad Atta is in control. Now, of those guys, right, of those people, they were trained on CIA base, so they're supposed to have good flight instruction. Now, they didn't have any licenses to fly even a Piper Cub, one of those little canvas planes. Some of those guys couldn't even drive a car. But they're supposed to take a 757 and turn it 280 degrees in and down 4 feet off the ground and smack up against the Pentagon, which is the interior of the pentagram. I said, well, what does the pentagram, the seal of the devil, have to do with the Pentagon? The fellow who designed the Pentagon was John Whiteside's parson. He was involved with another guy named L. Ron Hubbard, and still one other one, who they called him Mr. 666, the Beast. Of course, that has nothing to do with any of this. We looked around for those engines. They're 9 feet across. There's 2 of them. 757 is about 145, 50 feet wingspan. And I'm thinking of all of this. And I was taking a look at the ruins. There's a 16-foot hole. How could a plane that's 155 feet long, with 2 engines that are 9 feet wide, made out of steel and titanium, hit that building and disappear in a 14-foot hole? Well, if you're part of the American stupel, if you're one of the British sheeple, you'll get the mess, you'll say, oh yeah, that's right, I believe the BBC. In fact, the girl from the BBC was out there. She was standing in front of the camera. Behind her is the city of New York. And she's got the message, the advance message that, good Lord, I just can't, I can't hardly believe that she was telling us that the building number 7 had just gone down. And I'm out there looking at this, and I'm looking up at the, and here, yeah, I'm looking, and behind, there she is. Behind her is this building number 7. She's saying it's gone down. Damn, I'm telling you, these BBC reporters are crack. They get the message before the story. But then you were all told about this Muhammad Atta. Here he is, he's taken over the plane. There's 11, there's 3/4 of a guy with the crutches in the back, holding all of the people down with I guess the lady with the purse wasn't in that flight, but I thought, well, maybe someone would have the guts to take one of these guys on. But here he comes through, he hits up the side of that building. This is an aluminum airplane. It goes in, you see this spray of kerosene, or jet A fuel, that's what it is, jet A fuel. In fact, I want to just divert a little bit, because I was coming over here from Philadelphia, first from Las Vegas to Philadelphia and over here, and I'm looking out there at these engines. I'm scared. I think the jet A fuel burnt down these steel buildings, right? It melted the steel. I said, my God, we are running on jet A fuel and massive stupidity. But I think I must be wrong. The jet A fuel, which burnt down the steel buildings, these 2 tall towers, something's wrong here. Either that is a lie, or this flight that I'm on is simply an illusion. It couldn't be the truth. And I'm thinking, how does all of this happen? And then I'm told about, remember the story, how we found out about all of the terrorists. Muhammad Atta goes in there. He hits the side of the building, goes through the steel, goes through the concrete. He goes through the toilets and the electric, the walls. Yeah, I think they were even more stable than this screen, right? Oh, that screen's a little bit, well, anyhow, I'm told he goes right through it. Goes through the center of the building. Steel, massive amounts of steel. And then he goes through the inner core of this building, through the elevator shafts, out the other side, through the toilets, through the walls, through the steel, the concrete, out the window. Oh, Muhammad Atta didn't make it. He was evaporated. But and I'm thinking, oh, here it is. He had a passport. The passport survived. Oh, I can melt the steel, but not Muhammad Atta's passport. The FBI, the next day, they're walking on the molten steel out there. These guys are brave. And he says, Charlie, do you see that? My God, man, that looks like a passport. Whose might that be? Down to the molten steel. Let us check this one out. My God, it's the passport of Muhammad Atta. Now we can print in the morning paper who did this dastardly deed. Good God. Surely, how could this possibly be? I'm trying to figure it out. There was this guy who had the cape. My God, it's made out of kryptonite. Certainly it's out of kryptonite. Superman is dead, but the passport has survived. And so has the story that you've been told. I've got a film out there called 911, The Greatest Lie Ever Sold. It's in 23 countries. It's in 7 languages. I've given the rights to sell it, to give it away, in exchange for donations to the British Constitution Group. I want to give that same right to AB3. See, I want you guys to have it because the information is necessary. It's not a matter of the money, it's the message. But you carry the message. When you pick up one of my films, make copies. You say, oh, well, it was violate the copyright. Screw the copyright. We've got a nation which we have to wake up from the slumber. Maybe it's like Sleeping Beauty. But I don't think we're going to be kissed. The American Illuminati operates the monetary thievery from London. This conspiracy is run from New York, London, and Washington, D.C. We have a country. We have a freedom. We have victory if we only recognize it. Somebody's saying, well, what if we do this or what if we do that? Simply do it. You have to recognize the freedom that you have. Freedom is a commodity. It's a spirit. It's something that lies within us. It must become contagious. I came over here and I take a look at, in days, hours. Bam, bam, bam. You've lost this, you've lost that, and nobody's taking a stand. AV3. The alternative is not just a view, it's an alternative to death, destruction, disaster, depression by design. You've all got children. Your children are now economically enslaved. Your great-grandchildren economically enslaved. Oh, and what about those regulations that are online? In China, they now have mandatory abortion. And ask one doctor over there, why do you eat the unborn babies? He says, well, anything else would be a waste. An acceptance of the unacceptable. A tolerance of the intolerable. The British people have been propagandized for nearly a century. Dumbed down, numbed down, so the majority of those out there simply look up at a rerun of Benny Hill and never get the message. It's up to you. You are the victors. You simply have to have a victorious state of mind. Oh, and the building over there, Building 7, which came down about after the lady was talking about it, wasn't hit by a 757 or 767. By the way, they can be commandeered from the ground. Just like the toy plane, remote control. Yeah. There was a film about just that scenario on national television about 6 months before this occurred. Steel cannot be melted. It cannot. Impossible with Jet A fuel. It defies the laws of physics. I've got a friend, a guy named Ted Gunderson, former head of the FBI in Dallas, Memphis, and Los Angeles. He was over at the Hilton Hotel, this is several years ago, in the company of a fellow who was working with the CIA, Osama bin Laden. Oh, they said, well, he was under the name of, not Donny Osmond, but Osmond was the last name. Tim Osmond. And one thing Ian Crane told me when I came in here, which I have to get this on tape, very important. He was telling me that the CIA set on fire the wells in Kuwait to give the illusion that the Iraqis had done this dastardly deed. The CIA is the enforcement arm of the CFR. The CFR was a creation of the Royal Institute of International Affairs. You've got common purpose. Their purpose? To kill you. Click. To their Lord Lucifer? Or are we going to refuse to take a bow? I think Obama's, he's the bankster's boy. Is he on his knees simply shining their shoes? Or is he going to take a change? Oh, there is some change. It was whatever's left in your pocket. Hitler's book, The World Order, was carried out, he just about had a united Europe. Just about, so close. Now, without Hitler being alive, without them firing so much as a shot, getting on one boat, or dropping one bomb, you have lost every single thing that your forefathers have fought for on this island. Everything is gone. The pimps and prostitutes in the parliament, the prime ministers who have screwed you and blued you and now want to tattoo you have done the job. I told you about that Uncle Sam. I saw this DVD from Ian Crane. I thought it was mine. No? He had Uncle Sam on there. I want you. This is the New World Order. It stinks. I mean, I've stepped on it before, but I've never, thought that they would introduce it and try to sell it to you. You've got Uncle Sam here. And I'm thinking, Uncle Sam, and here's the goat of Baphomet. That's the devil. The man with breasts and man breasts, and he's sitting there. The configuration of the horns and the configuration of the hat are identical. When you blow this up to the correct proportions, the hairs that exist in his beard match up with exactly. They match up with Uncle Sam. I want you to serve Satan. Uncle Sam and the goat of Mendez, the goat of Baphomet, are one and the same. You match them up and they will be identical. They have sold Satan as Uncle Sam to the American public. And they've bought it. They've taken the money. They've given us paper, and they've taken away our silver. 412.5 grains of silver. Then they gave us notes that said, well, this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private, and is redeemable in lawful money of the United States. Well, one day, I took a look at that money. I said, my God, what has happened? They've taken off, this note is redeemable in lawful money. They just simply took it off. It's like your Lisbon Treaty. They have discarded your Constitution. Well, you didn't really have a Constitution, but whatever freedom you had, they gave it away. Hitler didn't do it. Your parliament, your political prostitutes did it. And they need to be in jail. On Frankenfed, the monster amongst us, we explained this thing. I'm thinking, I told Alex Jones I'm going to give this to Alex and have him do a free download. We can reach 25 to 30 million people. Will that do it? Maybe. Will 50 million people do it? I think so. We have about 7% in the United States understanding somewhat of this conspiracy, some bits and pieces of it. And then when the money issue came about, we had the End the Fed movement and the Tea Party rallies. There was close to 2 million people who marched on Washington. 2 million people. The legitimate left, the legitimate right, merging because we share the same enemy. The enemy isn't over there, the enemy isn't over here, and people go, they're looking over there. It says, well, the enemy, no, the enemy's over there. Well, you're back, the enemy isn't over here or there. My God, there's somebody up there pulling the strings. God, It's all a sham. It's a flam. It's a flam fraud. God, how can it be that we have bought the bait? Are we fish? No. I want to sit down here for 1 second. You may see me disappear from your sight. But we all have to develop an insight. We all have to develop something that we have never shared with people. And that is an understanding of this thing called freedom. You don't have to see it. You can't really touch it. It's something that you experience. You've got to recognize that those people who lay nude in the coffin, surrounded by 15 men wearing black robes, in the Brotherhood of Death at Yale University when they are initiated into the skull and bones, have no interest at all in seeing you survive. You don't have to see them to know what they've done. You don't have to hear them. You can sense what's happening. You sense it in this room. If any one of you gets on a two-way talk show and you speak, you'll speak to 500 or 5,000 or 5 million. We have to expand our method of communication. I told you I'm going to sell out of these things. Maybe we'll have some more during the afternoon, but Frankenfed, the monster amongst us, make a copy. Not just a copy. You got one of those duplicators? 5, 10? How about 100? We got some kid on here who came out and he said, and he's doing these things one by one, and he was at a rally. He says, he's in a flak jacket, and he's saying, man, you've got to do this. I'm working on this. I made 300 of these things, and I spent all of my money and all of my time. Each disc reaches about 6.5 people. 300 times 6. Could he possibly have reached 1,800 people? Or thereabouts? I don't know the math. But there's a mindset. If this mindset is in mud, if your mind is muddled, you're not going to see clearly. You've got to first understand the enemy to defeat it. If anybody here is interested in seeing the new film finished, and this thing that I'm doing right here, right now, is part of that new film. It's called E.U. Hitler's Dream Come True. And like I said, these guys intend to reduce the population of the planet by 90%. Not on your Stonehenge, but on our Stonehenge, the Georgia Guidestones. It says in stone, they intend to reduce the population of the planet by 90%. That means 9 out of 10 that are now living would be dead. Genetic engineering, Frankenfoods, injections, vaccinations. It's a little black girl. She's about 5'11". Her kid was a beautiful little kid when it was born. She sent the boy in for some vaccinations. He was perfectly normal. Now, at the age of 10, when she brings him to a conference, he's screaming, running up and down the aisles, drooling. See, these people think of people of color, people who don't agree with him, as useless eaters. They think of you as useless eaters. You have no value to them. Somebody said, well, you wouldn't want to kill these people. I want them incarcerated for life or used for medical experiments. I'm serious. It's them or it's us. This fight isn't going to take place somewhere down the line in 2 or 3 years. You don't have 2 or 3 years. I'm not sure whether you have 2 or 3 months. This is happening fast. You pick up the paper this evening and it'll be something new. They're talking about 9,000 new rules. In a nation that has more rules, laws, bylaws, sub-laws, more cameras, more control, more intolerance of freedom than possibly any other nation on earth. In communist China, you can't go out and protest. In Tiananmen Square, you can't pick up a camera and walk around and shoot. One guy came up. He stood in front of the tank. The tank moved. He moved over here. The tank moved. He moved over here. He showed a spirit that became contagious. There will be one day when the Chinese look at that evilarchy and take out its leaders. For freedom to live, they must die. And I'm saying that sincerely. It's incompatible to have a Nazi dictatorship living within the people. God bless. Thumbs up. May you all be part of the victory.